I don't know that exactly. One thing, yes, he preferred the old Mass for one reason. He wouldn't give communion. He only gave communion to First Communion children, okay? Because he couldn't walk around a couple of thousand people with the stigmatized feet. The priest insisted on that, not him. Okay? But he wouldn't give host in the hand to anybody. He said, in the mouth or else. So he didn't fully approve of the new Mass. He faced them quite a lot of times. Now, from the mittens, the gloves he wore, covering the wounded feet, hands, were taken off for his mouth. And the scabs of dried blood on both hands, and so the feet inside, were driven off by the force of blood. And the blood was pouring down. His wrists were swathed in his forearms were swathed in bandages, so that the blood from his hand wouldn't go onto the vestment. You saw him lift one foot and then the other, and then you saw him yield to the heart wound, very much so. And then when he would genuflect, you could see by the way he was genuflecting as if the cross of Christ was on his back. Found great difficulty about it. Now, he also found extreme difficulty in turning, on account of his wounded hands, in turning over the pages of the Mass book. So that when they found out that the guardian angel was turning over the pages of the Mass book, they insisted on having a priest to assist him just for turning over the pages of the Mass book for him. I remember one morning, if you don't mind, I'm telling you, one morning he was celebrating his Mass, and he turned around. There was a man came in crutches as a result of an accident on the Italian railroad. He couldn't bend one leg at all. And he came in crutches, and Padre Pio turned around and said to him, "Stand up and throw away your crutches." He did not. Padre Pio said, "Oh, you of little faith, stand up and throw away your crutches." I witnessed this now myself. And he threw away the crutches. He stood up, and he found he could bend the knee as perfectly as it was before. He literally danced for joy in the church that morning. So I witnessed that, actually. Yes. One night I was giving a talk above Cavan Town, and a friend of mine got me with him, a helper. Paddy Mead was reciting the Rosary, and I was operating the projector for the slides for the Rosary. And Paddy turned around to me as the group of the people in the hall were answering his Hail Marys. He said, "Donal, do you see Padre Pio's face over there on the left?" So I looked over, and there he was sitting down on a stool in his brown habit, and he looking over at the two of us. And I have a letter from a woman in Killorgan in County Kerry, that one night I was giving a lecture there, and that she saw Padre Pio come in and walk up through the hall at the school and stand beside me as I was giving the lecture. And also, there was Mrs. Ford in Blarney and her friend. One night I was going to give a film show, Padre Pio film show in Blarney. And I was finding difficulty in putting, well, I do know now, of putting the film into the projector. According to what she said, I'm only going what I'm told, actually. She saw Padre Pio standing beside me and helping me to put in the film into the projector. Herself and her friend. Two of them. I have two of his gloves. I have some of his beard that he had, some of his beard. I have one of his heart bandages, full-size heart bandage belonged to him. I have, what is more precious of all, one night I was present on the 15th of August 1963 when Padre Pio was attacked by Satan. And I have a photograph of his face. He was attacked by Satan all his life. But I have around my neck at the present moment, one night Satan, it's written down in his own letters, one night Satan and another devil from hell came to him. They attacked him. The devil held him down. Satan attacked him throughout the night. In vain, he called on the guardian angel to come to his assistance. He did not. In vain, he called on our Blessed Lady, who appeared to him every day. She did not. In the morning, he was lying in a pool of blood on the floor of his cell. Our beloved Jesus came, caught him in his arms, and put him up on the bed in his cell. He cut the square out of the habit where he was wearing when our beloved Jesus had his hands on Padre Pio's habit. And I have a bit of Padre Pio's habit our beloved Jesus Christ himself had. Padre Pio rarely, if ever, gave gloves or anything to people. It was forbidden, more or less. But he had a way of overcoming everything. He would give to one of his companions to give to you. He was obeying orders from the Vatican, actually. No, but if they imposed, he obeyed the commandment, he obeyed God more than the Vatican, put it that way. You'll see he's in constant communication, you see. On the 14th of August, a young woman who was possessed was brought out in northern Italy through no fault of her own, that she was possessed, to be for Padre Pio to bless her and to remove Satan from her. Nobody could sleep in the hotel she was staying in that night with her relatives. In the morning, cursing and screaming. In the morning, she was brought to Padre Pio's Mass, and she had to be taken out. The cursing and screaming was shocking. That day, Father Eusebio accompanied her up to Padre Pio's cell. No woman was allowed in Padre Pio's cell on her own. He always had a companion for protection for him in case any woman would lie about him or anything. It was orders. He'd meet him. Certainly he'd meet him. So he prayed over her and he blessed her with holy water and with a crucifix. And then it was Satan himself who had possessed her. Satan cried out, he said, "While I am in her soul, I am free of the torments of hell." He said, "If you dispossess her, I will kill you." Padre Pio failed for the only time in his life. The following morning, he was found on the floor of his cell. I have a photograph of his face. His right eyebrow was split wide open. Nose was fractured. His face was completely black and blue, and so was, I believe, most of his body. I only saw a photograph of his face. He sent for the girl that evening, the second evening, and he dispossessed her. But not before Satan said, "I will kill you. I tried to kill you this morning," in the early hours of the morning probably, "but the Mother of God came between you and I, and placed a cushion under your head." And there was a miraculous new cushion under his head. It's in the cell today that Our Lady protected him. I can tell you one story about that. She's Joan Lane from Charleville in County Cork. She went out with me on pilgrimage. As a result of an accident, she went out on crutches. She had several bones broken in her spine, and they were replaced, some of them, with stainless steel bars in hospital. And one or two had become displaced, and when she got back to Ireland, she was to go to Dublin to be operated on. So on the morning, you were allowed into Padre Pio's cell until people started stealing some things that he wore. I advised her, I said, "When we go in, Joan," I said, "sit in the chair that Padre Pio died in and put your back against the cushion." So she did, and then I asked her to lean forward, and I blessed her back with the cushion Our Lady had placed under his head. That evening, in the Hotel Gaggiana, I was met on my arrival back. I had work to do in the English office, and I was met by Didi O'Mahony, the same Didi O'Mahony, and he said, "Joan Lane wants to talk to you." So I met her, and I couldn't believe the change. She was walking without crutches, perfectly. Her face was aglow with love. Radiant is the word I would use. And she came over and she, "Thank you, Donal," she said, "for putting your arm around me and lifting me out of the chair." I said, "No," I said, "Joan, you are far better than that. It was Our Lady herself who put her arm around you and lifted you out of the chair." She's still alive today and can tell the story. I never heard that. Go back to the Catholic religion as it was practiced when I was a youth. But he did say that for one act of love, for one act of charity, God doesn't know how to compensate the sinner. And he said the greatest sin of all is the sin of despair. Despair. Because he said this, that when Jesus was crucified, our Blessed Lady asked God the Father to forgive Judas Iscariot, betraying her son. And he did, but to the sin of despair that Judas hanged himself. That's why he's in hell. I advise them, first of all, to talk as much as to pray, actually. Talk to our beloved Jesus, talk to Our Lady, as you would to me. That's the first thing I would say to them. They might find a bit difficulty in prayer, and I advise them that if their thoughts drift, if they're saying the rosary or at Mass or anything, not to worry about that. That's not their fault. That's a diversion, a satanic diversion. Padre Pio gave me a rosary bead, and when he gave to me, he said, no money could buy it. That's 52 years ago. There are 500 plenary indulgences on the rosary every time you say it, and one for yourself, providing you're in the state of grace, or intend going to confession as quickly as you can. And when I'm saying the rosary, I find my thoughts are diverted about sick people or something. I find it very hard to concentrate on the rosary to Our Lady. That's a diversion, actually, not mine. That's satanic. Satan is trying to divert you from saying the rosary devoutly. But to take no notice of it, don't worry, because it's your fault. And at Mass, the same thing. When I'm praying at Mass, my thoughts drift at times to earthly things, maybe my family or something, be anybody, or sick people around. But not to worry in the least about that.